Well, of course, here in Michigan, we adore the Great Lakes and we adore spending time on our local lakes, the inland lakes. And joining us now are two individuals who are doing their part to help keep these lakes healthy, clean, and safe for each and every one of us. And of course, for the health of these waterways in Michigan. Joining us now on the program is Julia Kirkwood, the Senior Environmental Quality Analyst at the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, or EAGLE, as well as Joe Latimore. Joe Latimore is a lake and stream specialist at Michigan State University. Julia, Dr. Latimore, thank you both for being with us today.
Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate having you on. So both of you are members of the Michigan Inland Lakes Partnership. I'll start with you, Dr. Latimore. Can you tell us a little bit about the Michigan Inland Lakes Partnership and what your organization does to protect and inform the communities about the inland lakes?
Sure, thanks. We're happy to share about the Michigan Inland Lakes Partnership. This is a group that kind of runs under the radar, but it's a partnership involving a lot of organizations your viewers probably know and are aware of, like Michigan State University, where I'm from, the Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, where Julia comes from, also the Michigan Department of Natural Resources, and about a dozen other partner organizations that all have a share in protecting Michigan's inland lakes. And so we do a lot of different programs together. It's a great opportunity for us all to, listen to one another and meet up and talk about what our shared priorities are for protecting Michigan's lakes. And we've been doing this for what's pushing up to about 20 years now.
So what we do in our communities affects our inland lakes and the overall health of those lakes, which of course affects different biomes and different habitats in those lakes as well. And that has far-reaching environmental impacts right here in our local communities. So Julia, and we've had some issues recently with some environmental issues that have affected some of our waterways. We won't get into the specifics of that as it's an ongoing investigation. But it brings up the topic when an issue like that arises, when there is something that happens in the community, whether it be natural or whether it be man-made or man-produced, and there is something that affects our inland lakes, how do organizations like yours at EAGLE and then partnerships like the Michigan Inland Lakes Partnership work together to inform the public about what's going on and how it's affecting their local waterways?
Well, it's going to depend on what the issue is. There are opportunities in particular, like one other hot topic would be like harmful algal blooms. People can call the district offices and ask, to talk to someone about what's happening with their lakes. There are potential monitoring opportunities as well. And really getting at, it's really important that people are engaged initially to know that something maybe is changing, something isn't natural. That can include like long-term monitoring, being engaged in their lake associations or their watershed associations in order to stay in tune with things. So that's, the pre stuff to really understand that. And then as part of like with the partnership, in particular, the Inland Lakes Partnership, and then another partnership we work with is our Natural Shoreline Partnership too. So what we do is we create educational programs that are geared towards engaging people in being able to be that engaged volunteer at the local level, being more informed on what the issues are, what some of the challenges are, and then also how to implement some actions to help prevent some things and actually protect things. And that is one of the goals of our Inland Lake Convention that we started in 2016 now. I think it goes every other year, and that convention focuses on a variety of different topics. It's scheduled for September 14th through 16th of 2022, and it's a variety of topics, and that is also geared towards general public, lake association, practitioners, as well as professionals. There's even technical topics and topics that help people engage at the local level too.
We're joined by Julia Kirkwood, Senior Environmental Quality Analyst at the Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, or EAGLE, at the state level, as well as Dr. Joe Latimore, from a lake and stream specialist at Michigan State University, joining us on the Megacast. You can always find more information on michigan.gov on all the work that's happening at the state level regarding our inland lakes streams and other waterways as well. So let's go back to you, Dr. Latimore. At the local level, we know what happens at the statewide level at the Great Lakes, some of the pollutants and other risk factors that affect the Great Lakes, whether it be boating, whether it be littering. There's so many other factors that go into that as well, but particularly for our inland lakes, which make up the vast majority of our waterways locally here in the state of Michigan. What are some of the greatest threats on a community level that people should be aware of and working toward avoiding becoming factors in their local inland lakes?
Well, one of the areas that I work in a great deal is that of aquatic invasive species. And I'm sure, all of your viewers are aware of some of the big ones like zebra mussels that we know have moved into a lot of our inland lakes. And that's something that each and every one of us that lives near or recreates on an inland lake can take part in helping protect our lakes from. And the steps that you need to take are really pretty easy. One of the easiest ways for a non-native invasive species to make its way into our lakes and cause damage is by hitchhiking and catching a ride on our boats and our trailers and our other gear that we bring when we come out to enjoy our lakes, whether it's fishing or swimming and so forth. And so we like to remind folks to always clean your gear, drain any water that might be contained in it, like if you have a bait bucket or a live well on your boat, and then let your gear dry out sun for a while, because that's really going to help remove or kill any zebra mussels or invasive plants or other critters that don't belong in our lakes from making their way in, and then from hopping their way from one lake to another as we travel from one lake to another. So that's one of the big issues that we want to make sure people help out with, because it's pretty easy. You just have to remember to do it.
And then, Julia, when these invasive species do become a factor in our inland lakes and in other waterways as well, what action can be taken beyond the safety precautions that Dr. Latimore just put forth, or at least from the state level, what is done to then combat these invasive species? Because they spread quickly, they affect our waterways, they can move from waterway to waterway if people don't take the precautions that Dr. Latimore just discussed. What can the state then do and other organizations locally do to potentially rid themselves of these invasive species?
Well, I would first direct people to the Michigan Invasive Species Network, and there are local cooperative working groups called their CISMA's acronym is the Cooperative Invasive Species Networks around in different counties. And each of those areas are focusing on assistance for different types of invasive species. One is working on what kinds of prevention is important. The other is what kind of treatment options that are specific to the invasive species. Knowing what the regulations are, knowing what the process are, is being informed at that level as well. And the Michigan Invasive Species Network has a lot of information specifically to understanding what types of invasive species might be in your area, and then potential treatment options as well.
We're joined by Julia Kirkwood from Michigan's Department of Eagle, as well as Dr. Joe Latimore from Michigan State University on Megacast, talking about our inland lakes. We have a special event coming up in September. September 14th through the 16th is the Michigan Inland Lakes Partnership's virtual convention. Dr. Latimore, can you tell us a little bit about what will happen at that virtual seminar, what people can learn, and how people can participate, or who can?
Sure. So the convention, we're thrilled about it. We do this every other year, as Julia mentioned, and it's a way for people to learn about what's going on in our inland lakes, what research is happening, things they can do locally to help protect our lakes. And it's open to anyone who's interested. The registration is online at the website I'm sure you'll share. And it's $60 to register, and that includes all 3 days of content. It will all be recorded. So if you can't make a certain presentation that you're really interested in seeing, you can always go back and see the recording later. Our full agenda is available on that website. And I mentioned it's a $60 registration fee, but if someone is a student, it's only $15 for all 3 days of content and that's students at all levels, from graduate school, college, all the way down to grade school. So we hope to get a lot of participation. We're going to have multiple sessions going on at the same time, all 3 days, on topics as broad as fisheries management, invasive species like we just talked about, how to communicate about the value of lakes. We're going to learn about the economic value of inland lakes Lakes to Michigan's economy. We're going to learn about wild rice, a really important native plant in Michigan's inland lakes, steps for restoring lakes that may be damaged, and also steps for protecting lakes that are still in beautiful condition, which so many of our lakes already are.
Well, we appreciate both of you coming on again. The Michigan Inland Lakes Partnership's virtual convention, September 14th through 16th. You can find more information by visiting canr.msu.edu. That's canr.msu.edu. Julia, Dr. Latimore, thank you both for joining us today.
Thanks.
You're welcome.